guys, it's Jaron from predecessor.com here with the first impression on the Armour ClutchFit Drive II, the second of what was a fantastic model last year. Before we get started though, if you want to see where I got this sweet lockdown t-shirt, a must for anyone who plays ball, go check out my Hoop Crate unboxing, link will be in the description below. Now back to the sneaker. A lot of people have been asking Chris and I if we're going to review the ClutchFit Drive II. Chris is not, and I am taking care of it for him, and both the written and video performance review will be up at weartesters.com. Let's just hit up the first impressions. So as always, we're going to start with the traction. It seems pretty identical to me from what I saw last year, but if history repeats itself, full-length herringbone should be a beast on court. It's multi-directional, as you can tell by the direction of the herringbone pattern here. Is different from the midfoot, which is different from the forefoot, which means no matter what direction you're going, the ClutchFit Drive II is going to keep you on the ground where your foot belongs. So let's talk about the cushion next. This is the biggest change from the ClutchFit 1 to the ClutchFit 2. The ClutchFit 1 used full-length Micro G, and if you don't know this by now, Micro G was my favorite cushion setup of all time. It has been replaced by the cushion setup found in the Under Armour Speedform Fortis. Performance review coming in a few days. And while the ClutchFit 2 does feature charged foam, apparently there's still Micro G in this model. So according to the tech specs found on UnderArmour.com, the ClutchFit Drive II uses a Micro G sock liner with a charged foam midsole. Just by putting these on around the house, the cushion setup seems to be, well, exactly like what the Curry 1 was. Maybe just a little bit more firm. Is that a bad thing? No, because some people like a more responsive ride. The whole idea around charged foam is that if you're just idle, the cushion is going to be very plush, but when you activate it, meaning when you actually move around in it, it firms up for a more responsive ride. To me, it just felt a little bit too firm for my liking. But again, this isn't a bad thing if you like a real responsive ride. Do I have any doubts that this will provide really good impact protection? No, but seeing that the ClutchFit is Under Armour basketball's most versatile model, meaning players 1 through 5 can hoop in it, it would have been nice to see a more dynamic cushion setup, because as it sits right now, it definitely is catered towards guards or quick players. So for materials, the ClutchFit 2 uses this hyperfuse-like upper that I'm actually not really a fan of. You can see that the ClutchFit is featured here on the underlay, but it doesn't really do much for you there. I don't really see why Under Armour put it there. It doesn't really stretch and conform and move with your foot like a second skin, which is what Under Armour is telling us it does, and it actually did pretty well in last year's model. To me, the materials as a whole is kind of a step back for Under Armour. Now apparently there is going to be a version where the whole upper is ClutchFit, but I'm just baffled of why they just wouldn't do it right out the gate to really impress the people that are going to cop this model because of how they like last year's one. And while I've definitely seen more stiff and worse versions of this type of synthetic upper, it's still not what ClutchFit is actually all about. The ClutchFit actually kind of feels like a gimmick here, whereas last year it didn't. What I will say though is the ankle area is extremely well padded, as well as this heel area, and it doesn't lose its structural integrity, even though again it's very well padded. And while the tongue may not look like much, it's actually very, very comfortable and very well padded. There's also a couple nice things Under Armour updated with the ClutchFit Drive II, which would be this heel cup. It seems a little bit more sturdier, a little bit more beefed up, so it's really going to help your foot not shift side to side when you're doing those hard cuts or lateral movements. I also really like how the traction wraps up onto the midsole, because God knows how many times when you do a cut, your foot actually slips up, and that traction is really nice to have there so you don't actually go all the way and do the splits. As for the aesthetic features of the ClutchFit Drive II, I think they look pretty cool. It's a nice solid basketball silhouette that isn't too far out there like say the Kobe 10 Elite or even the upcoming Rose 6. I think there's just a little bit too much going on there, but the ClutchFit Drive II is a little bit more simple. I will say that the low top versions that my boy Emmanuel Moutier has been wearing in the Summer League look a lot better with the faded gradient heel cup design. This crackled design upper for the E24 tournament works good enough for me. I hope that the ClutchFit Drive II performs very well on court, because I would hate to see Under Armour basketball take a step back. They had a very solid year last year with the ClutchFit Drive 1 and the Curry 1. But from what I actually see in the ClutchFit Drive 2, or should I say not see, is ClutchFit. Where is it? If all we're getting is it right here, it's just not gonna cut it. Well, hey, at least Under Armour didn't bump up the price, as they still retail for $125. If you want to pick these up before my performance review, links will be in the description, but I urge you to wait for the performance review so you know what you're going to do with your money and you get the most bang for your buck. Well, that pretty much takes care of my first impressions of the ClutchFit Drive II. If I left anything out or you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. I'll be more than happy to answer you. Again, stay tuned for the performance review. I'll see you in the next one. Peace. So without further ado, let me summon the sneaker gods to give me the Air Jordan 1.5. Thank you, sneaker gods.